Hey everybody, it's your boy Doc Williams, and today we're going to be talking about how you can start making money while you're live streaming. Now, this is if you're trying to sell a product or service. It doesn't really matter. I'm talking about the same exact steps that everyone has to follow, the 9 essential steps to start building your business. So I'm going to break this down today, and we'll go from there. So come with me. Okay, everyone. So, again, welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be going through just what I normally go through about every 2 weeks. I build out all of the different systems that I use right now. And I thought today was going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go through the fundamentals of all the things that I use that has brought just live streaming and doing it as a hobby to now doing it as professional, getting sponsors, doing all of those things. And then also reverse engineering all the steps that I use while helping others, my clients, influencers, and other brands use live streaming to the full. So the way that I view live streaming, it's very similar to QVC or when people used to, the home shopping network. It's almost exactly the same. It's using the same fundamentals and then just updating it to what's going on now. So we're going to be going through how everyone can do the same exact thing. I'm going to be breaking down my list, and then I'm going to show you behind the scenes of each step how I'm doing this. So let's share my screen real quick. We're going to break this down. Okay, so let's go through this one. First of all, right here, what you see is the 9 steps overview. Now, what you're looking at is this is what I look at over and over again to work on the show and to get better every time. So first, I look at broadcasting your idea, collecting leads. Broadcasting your idea, testing your message with micro clips, collecting leads, welcome your new leads into the tribe, which is your opening email sequence, creating a consistent show, tracking KPIs, which is key performance indicators that matter. So it's not just how many people are watching, but I'm looking at how many people opted in, how many people bought, all of those things. And it depends if you're selling a product or service. Then we're looking at streamlining your process and then plan out the streams of income that you want. Then identify the supplies and demand of whatever product and service you're trying to provide. So that's the basics. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that sounds like almost any business. What's different with live streaming? What I find the problem with live streaming is a lot of people do it haphazardly. They almost just view it as like they just don't take it seriously. They think it's just an extra topping on a dessert rather than seeing it as the full meal or seeing it as really the catalyst that could be building out your entire brand. So that's just how I view it. So I'm going to be showing you how I do this one step at a time. And then also too, we're going to break down each section of how I'm scaling it up every single time. So let's first talk about broadcasting your idea. Now, what does that look like? Broadcasting your idea can take a lot of different shapes. You can either go on Instagram Live, you can go on Periscope, you can do all of those different things, which is good. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that you get your bang for your buck. So you're trying to choose a platform or choose something that a platform that allows your message to go farther. So what I use is something called Restream. So let me do this. I'm going to show you in an incognito window instead of this. Hold on one second. I'm going to say primary display instead. And now you can see everything. Hold on one second. Okay, Restream. Okay. So right here. So what I start with is using Restream. Now you can use multiple different other platforms. It does the same thing. But what I like about this is you can go live on 30 different platforms for free just as their beginning account. I mean, so if you're on Facebook, that's great. But if instead of you reposting it or trying to find your audience in so many other places, This allows you to now broadcast on multiple platforms at the same time at a click of the button. And that allows you to test other audiences, test what's going on, and see if perhaps there's an audience that you never even thought of or thought they would care. Suddenly they're going to be looking at your content. And so I'm even going to show you what I've got going on right over here in one moment. I'm going to show you my setup and how I'm doing that. Okay, so the bottom line is, if you're going to be wanting to broadcast, you're going to have to use a platform to do that. And then I'm using Restream. So let me show you how many different platforms you could be doing this on. Okay, let me switch over to my secondary monitor. Okay, so if you look at this right here, it just needs to catch up in a second. But you see, I'm broadcasting on multiple platforms, right? So we're using Twitch, YouTube Stream, we're using Periscope and all these things. And this is just one of the, a couple different channels. If I click the Add Channel button, I can be adding up to 30 other platforms. And you're going to be seeing this in a little bit, in a few moments, but we're going to be adding a lot more of these as well. Just because, again, if we broadcast to more channels, we can be out there in front of the right audience. And then afterwards, we'll be able to maybe have more people that would care about what we're doing to help more people. That's the whole purpose of this process. Actually getting in front of the right people, testing out the message, and then going from here. So that being said, now, hold on, there's a spider. Gonna have to kill this spider. This is live. Ah! There we go. Got him. Whew. It was out of frame. Anyway. So now that we have that, we're going to go to the next one. Got my blood boiling with that spider for a moment. All right. So now that we discussed broadcasting, we're going to talk about the second part, which is repurposing. Okay. So now we're going to be talking about repurposing. Now, okay, so what is repurposing? Let's talk about this. Okay. So once you have a larger piece of content like this, right? This is a longer piece of content. It's more than 15 minutes. It's going to be more than 15 minutes. Most people aren't going to watch that whole video, right? They're going to only have a bite size of that. And that's okay. So you want to be able to make sure, does that bite size video convert? Do people care about that necessarily? Well, if you chop it up into smaller pieces, you can test your messaging, what people like, and all those things. In fact, we're doing that live as we're doing this video, right? No joke. So we have 9 different portions of this video. There's going to be a lot of other things too, right? So let's take a look. We're going to switch over. You see this? I'm actually chopping it up in real time as we're talking to test when I put it on different pieces of social media, what works and what doesn't work, right? So I have an overview section. I have a broadcasting and repurpose section. I'm doing it in real time. So likewise, when you're testing out pieces of your product or services, different things that you want to do with your business, having micro content allows you to see, what do people engage with? What kind of more content do I need to do? And you can see this when you're putting it on either, YouTube or any other platforms. You can go back and look at the analytics. What piece of content did people really engage with? So that's what we're doing. Every single time that we have a live stream session that lasts, more than 15 minutes, we chop it up even more, create that storyline and see what's going on or seeing what people want. So that's the testing your message with micro clips. That's what we do. This is what allowed us to now know the type of videos that we're showing right here, not just information, but action, how people can do that. That works really well for our audience. We only knew that because we were testing it. So you saw what we're doing in the background. We're going to be breaking it down how we're doing that even with YouTube after we go through the overview. Okay, so the next portion is looking at step 4. welcoming your new leads. Okay, so how do you welcome your new leads? Okay, simply put, you can do that on any kind of landing page. Now, if you've never heard of a landing page, all it is a very simple page that they're asking you to sign up for something. And it's usually something lean. It's one action, one something, right? So an example, you can see one of our pages that we built with SendFox. It's get my best tech stacks delivered to your inbox, right? I'm always using Kim Kardashian and all my stuff. So you just see that, right? Get my best tech stacks delivered to your inbox. It's a sign up, join right now. That's it. That's all we're asking. Everyone should have a sign up page, hands down. Now, why is that important? Well, if you look at anything on social media, if they leave without giving you any of the information, that's a lost opportunity to follow up. And if you're giving something away of value, even if it's the next time you go live, the next thing that you're breaking down, do you want to have them get off of the platform, or for them to opt in to either give you their email, by text message, doing something? You want them to be able to do it. Are you doing that now? Working with a lot of businesses, and especially influencers, tons of times they're just looking at the numbers. They never get people off the platform into their own tribe. Now, the reason that's dangerous is you never know when your audience can take your audience away, okay? So even if you look into streaming, for an example, look at what happened with Dr. Disrespect. So he was a prominent Twitch streamer. There's still a lot of gray area what happened to him. But the point is, the way he was able to survive is he has his own fans that opt into his website. So he's thinking about streaming not just exclusively on any of those platforms. He can still open up shop on his websites and people will pay for him. Very few influencers and streamers do that. If you look at this on Instagram, what if you get banned from Instagram? What if you get banned from Snap? All of these things. Then you got to start over. And you see this all the time with influencers. People report them, they lose their audience, then they're like, please follow my new account, do all this stuff. It's because you don't own it. So you need to figure out all of the points of how you're going to get them off of the social media platform and get them onto a platform or get them onto a list so you can follow up with them later. And that's really crucial. You have to do that pretty quickly. So if you're looking at that, that goes actually in point 3 and 4, collecting leads, and then welcome your new leads to the tribe. So number one, that we just talked about, actually what I was saying is more collecting leads. The next point is welcoming them to the tribe. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Now, why is it important to welcome your tribe? The reason behind it is, have you ever gotten an email from someone, like you signed up for like their newsletter like 5 years ago, you totally forgot about them, or they forgot about you, they never emailed you? Likewise, when you're having someone enter your tribe or your audience, or about what you do, you should be emailing them pretty consistently when they first join. Definitely right when they join, but you should be sprinkling that communication in pretty regularly. Usually the first 3 days, and then once a week at least. Now, why is that important? If they're signing up for you, they find that you're important. And if they don't anymore, or as things have changed, they will unsubscribe. And that's okay. But you should be having those lines of communications open so you can start connecting with them more. Now, again, some people, their audience, they'll say, well, email doesn't work. They hate email. Okay, great. But there's a couple of things. First of all, the biggest organization in the world for e-commerce, Amazon, still fundamentally works on email, right? You're signing up with your email. You're connecting everything to your account. When you have Audible, when you have Twitch, it's all connected to your same account. Email still is king. Email is still king. It's great if you have a text message, if you have an app, great. But it is still shown more than, close to 30 years, the emails are still the most important things, or 25 years. You get my point. It's still really important to do that. And fundamentally, if you've seen newsletters, you've seen all types of advancing technologies, it still relies on your email to sign up, or some kind of social media content that's still connected to your email address. So it's really important that you're going to be doing that. Now, putting this over here, making my notes as we're repurposing. Let's see what I said. Collecting leads. There. Okay. So now we're going to be talking about the next section, step 5. So step 5 right here in this section, it's really important to create a consistent show or have a time slot that everyone knows that you're there. Now, if you're not going to do live video, but I still encourage live videos, uploading or putting your podcast at a certain time so people get in a routine that you're there just like TV, right? You're there just like a show. You're there clockwork. So you have to be really consistent. What I would say too is make sure that you're being consistent with a time and day that works for you, right? So if you don't wake up, or works with your audience as well, but I think there should be a balancing act. If you're only going to serve an audience that is in a different time zone as you, and that's your primary audience, you might need to upload or go live when people are there. Yes. But also for longevity, make sure that your lifestyle or whatever you're doing revolves around something that is sustainable, and don't go somewhere just because, hey, everyone says they want this time. If it really can't work with your behavior and you start, stressing or really losing your sleep or your routine, you've got to have a balancing act. You've got to make sure that you're balancing whatever you're doing to stay consistent. Now, I'm not saying if you're serving an audience that's halfway around the world, I'm not saying that you don't serve them. What I'm saying is you've got to really make sure that you can do this sustainably and not try to think you can do this for like 3 weeks and then you crash and burn and then you can't do it anymore, right? Balance yourself. Okay, the next part we're going to be talking about is track KPIs that matter. Okay, so what is KPIs? KPIs are key performance indicators. Now, a lot of people think you should, being verified, having a certain amount of likes, certain amount of followers is the right thing to track. That's not true. You should be looking at numbers that make you more money or gets you to the goal that you're trying to do. If you're trying to go just for vanity or people knowing about you, this is the wrong thing to focus on if you want to make money, because there's so many other factors to do that way. And a lot of times you can just fake it and pay for it and whatever. And we're not going to talk about it in this section. This whole thing is focused on you making the money and the lifestyle that you want that aligns with where you want to go in life. Hold on one second. I'm checking. Cool. All right. Checking we're on the right thing. I have 2 different YouTube channels, so just making sure. Okay, cool. Sorry about this, guys. But this is live. Okay, cool. So, again, really important, track what matters. So, for example, I'm tracking about how many people sign up to the show, how many people respond back. And not only that, but am I delivering content that people really enjoy? How do you know that they're enjoying it? Maybe they're sharing it. Maybe they're using it and they're messaging you back. Those are the things that you should look for. And if you don't know, again, ask your audience to do certain things. Okay, so what we're going to be doing for our new shows is making sure that whatever platform you're on, make sure that you like and subscribe. Now, that seems like such a basic thing, but you want to really make sure that you have that in the cues in your show to make sure people are doing that. I'm terrible at it. I need to start doing that better, but that's what I'm doing with the shows, and then making sure all of our written content has a call to action for people to start being involved in the community. So it's really, really important to do that. So that is tracking some of the KPIs. Now, it's easier said than done. Depending on the product and service that you're trying to sell or do, it's going to change. So as you're watching this or have any questions, remember in the comment section below, let me know what kind of product or service you're trying to sell live streaming so I can help you out directly with that. And then we can give you exact examples how this can be possible for you. Okay. The next part we're going to be talking about is streamlining. Okay, so the next portion is streamlining. Now, streamlining your process, what does that look like? Okay, so that means after you've been doing this for some time, you now know what's work, what doesn't work, and now you're going to go back and think about how you can make this better for yourself, either saving yourself time or focusing on the right target demographic or the right area to show up. So example, for us, we know that our target demographic is 3 different categories. It's the Trends community from Trends.co, the Hustle.co, and their exclusive membership group. It's also AppSumo. And then we have a third group as well, and that is looking at very specific niches that need help with automation. I know that seems very generic, but it's very specific, like manufacturing that are doing everything manually. They need help with automation. For example, I just went to a conference with the Sports Business Classroom, and it was looking at how analytics and APIs and automation can come into a world of the NBA and understanding how people can learn tech skills, and they need help with that. So it's really, really niche groups for me personally. But everyone can find those things, but you're always testing. First of all, do they appreciate your talents? Number 2, are they willing to pay for your talents? And do you feel good doing that? So that's pretty much how I break that down. We'll go into that a little bit more. Okay. Next thing. Okay, so we're going to look at planning out your streams of income. Now, how can you do that? Planning out your streams of income, it's a little bit of a science and art as well. So tons of people, sometimes they're like, oh, I'd just love to have sponsorship and make money that way. Well, that's great. I would love a pony too, but maybe that's not the best way to go about it. Now, if you already have people lining up and trying to pay you money, that's fine. But realize, especially in the gig economy and everything that you're seeing right now in the world, how marketing has changed. You're going to need to think about an approach where you're having multiple streams of income to support whatever you're doing. I go back to streaming a lot, but I think they're a perfect example of influencers in any type of business. Streamers, a lot of times they think about subs and they think about donations and all those things. That's great, but you can also think about merch. You can think about affiliations. You can think about services, teaching people and releasing your own product. That's pretty much anyone as well. Influencers can do that. Different businesses can release that. And even if we look at an example of a certain, like we'll pick food, right? So if you look at Chipotle or Five Guys or whatever, if you look at their menus, they have a very structured menu. They're not trying to do everything. But later on, depending on feedback, depending on area, whatever, they might release other products, but it's based on demand, based on what people want to do. Likewise, with your streams of income, you should be thinking about what are people asking you to do? Do you want to do that? But also, how much money is it? And in relation to how much time it's going to take you or effort, how do you want to spend your time, right? And that allows you to then tier out how much time, FaceTime you want to give someone, how much connection you want to give someone, and that can be tiered, right? So you can even look at it 3 different ways: DIY, done with you, or done for you, right? So you could say DIY could be a course where you're releasing no matter what. If someone wants to learn a skill from you, or they've seen you do something in your business, you can release a course and reverse engineer what you did. You can have a certain price. The other one is done with you. You could do it in 2 different ways. Number 1, one-on-one, where you're charging them a certain amount, or done with you in a group setting. That way you can scale. So instead of just saying, hey, I have an allotment, I can't see more than 12 people, well, then you can move it to, okay, I'm going to be teaching up to 5 people at the same time. Then, if they want more exclusivity and they want to talk to you directly one-on-one, you charge them more. Then the last thing is, depending on the product and service that you're doing, perhaps it's just easier, or perhaps they're like, I love what you're doing, I just want it done for me, and I just want you to do it. Well, then you're charging them that higher price point. So it might be something like this. On the DIY spectrum, you might charge $200 or $100 or $200. Done with you, it might be $500 or $750, depending if it's group, right? So if group $750, something like that, might be $1,200 if it's one-on-one, or you could do $4,000, whatever, if it's one-on-one or whatever. Then the next one is you can either charge a premium for how much they're gonna be with you, or you can just do it for them, and that's going to be in the range of like 10,000 or whatever that factor. So if you're looking at the numbers, you would look at like tier 1 that done a DIY, it would be like 1/10 of what you would charge if they had you do it, 1/10 of the price. Then in group, you might do it, half the price or 4/10 of the price. And then you're looking at the full number. That's the complete number, what you would charge because it's worth your time and energy. That's just something to think about. Now, again, some people say, I'm going to put it at such a high price. I don't want anyone to have me, build out something for them, which is fine with you, fine with me. But that's just a tier system to think. So now they see why. First of all, that's anchoring the price. And number two, they see the value of if they actually wanted you to do it or work with you one-on-one. Okay, so plan. Okay, so what did we just do? Plan out streams of income. Okay, good. And then, of course, you're going to review that as well. Okay, and then the last step is ID supplies and demand. So always, I look at it just like a marketplace, but I mean, every business is like this. You have to first you have to look at inventory and reevaluate your supplies of what you're doing, either if it's your own product or service or something that you like sell, like drop shipping or something, and then the demand of it. Do people care about it? Have you evaluated it? Now, the reason I say this, and this is last, and this goes into streamlining, and you should always be doing this throughout the process, but it's really important to reevaluate because a lot of times you can sell something quickly or sell it once or sell it, for the first quarter, and then something dips. You should always, as you're going through this cycle, reevaluate it monthly or quarterly at least to make sure that everything's still working because things change. The economy changes, people change, your audience changes. Perhaps, what you offered at first, it was something that was really important in the economy at first, but now things have changed. It's always important to reevaluate. And you see how important it is because if you're not on the pulse of this, things change and then businesses go out of business. If you look at anything that's happening with COVID, in the changing economy, it's a lot of times because people aren't on the pulse. Yes, there's other circumstances. But what I'm saying is larger companies being late to pivot, if they weren't investing heavily on online or making sure of things, things can change rapidly and then that changes your business. So for you to make money and continue to progress out in public, you need to be thinking about that. And so that is the overview of the 9 steps to build any profitable business in public. So let me know again in the comments below if you have any questions or thinking about this yourself and want to know how you can be effective. Let me know. Now, okay, clip. What I'm going to do here, just in case something happens, I want to make sure that I always have these timestamps. It'd be a tragedy if, we lose all these times. And just so you can see this, let me switch over. Desktop. So you can see what I'm doing and going back and forth again. So I'm trying to show you, as we just went through this whole thing, I have all of these pieces of content that I can now repurpose later on and test out what's going on with the audience. Did they enjoy those parts? What are people struggling with, right? So I have the overview up here, the overview of what we went through this. I've been talking for a half an hour. I can't believe it. And then we're talking about branding, repurposing, collecting leads, welcoming new leads, right? Let me put that there. Change out some of the words. And this now, when we go out and start testing it, we can see exactly. That was my face is over this thing. Okay, so now you can see all of the different points, right? So everything right here, then I'm going to stop the recording of this or my timer, and then I can just grab all of these timestamps, put it through my Facebook Live in the description, repurpose will automatically redo it and everything like it. So again, now I don't have to go fishing and thinking about what micro content or what am I going to do. I just have everything done right there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go now section by section and deep dive this and talk about how I'm doing this and how I'm getting better. Right? So, okay, so now what we're going to be talking about is how we're going to broadcast your idea and how you can get better at it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go into repurpose. And what I'm going to do even more, because I know this is a section that I'm going to make it a smaller video, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to switch over my camera. I'm going to start this section because, again, in repurpose, it's going to cut everything to where I want it to be. So I'm going to make it as perfect as possible. So this is what I'm going to do. We're going to start here and just go from here. Hey everyone, it's your boy Doc Williams, and right now we're going to go in depth with step 1 of building in public and making money. In this step, we're going to be talking about how you can broadcast to all of your audiences with one click of a button. So let's dive in. So if you look at that, I just made the clip. I already know where it's going to be. It can be right here. Boom. And then I can say, all right, everyone, like I just mentioned, let's go back. Switch over. All right, everyone, like I just mentioned, we are back and looking at step 1 of broadcasting, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth here. Now, if you notice, you're seeing me on screen because I'm actually doing this in real time in a stream. But as you can look at this, I'm broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and DLive all at the same time. But I'm going to add even more platforms. With with Restream.io, you're able to do this. So what I'm going to be doing is right here, I'm going to be adding a couple other platforms that I'm going to be broadcasting live as well. So right now we have Trevo. Am I saying that right? Trevo? Let's do this real quick. We're going to broadcast live using this just as an example. Now, remember, you can add multiple different, providers or wherever you're going to be at. Dailymotion, Smashcast, whatever you're going to be doing. I'm just really big about pick a couple at first and then expand from there. Okay, you don't have to try to be on all the platforms all at once. Once you get a grasp on it or understand how to be adding channels or seeing where your traffic is coming from, then add more. So I'm going to go over to my... I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to one of my accounts. Okay. And I'm going to sign up for this platform. So let's go with this. How do I say that? Trevo? I think I already signed up for it, but let me check again. Okay. Trevo. Okay, so we're waiting for it to load for a moment. Don't judge me, I have a lot of emails. Okay, let's see if we signed up. Okay, so we're signed up.
Who carries in the top lane. I do think this does free up Someday to be more of a carry. I think 100 Thieves has learned their lesson to not put him on Ornn, and if Contracts and Someday can take off, I actually think they can do quite a bit of damage to the EG lineup.
Okay.
I think seem to be much more.
Okay, so we have it. Let's go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch windows so you can just see it. And let's do this. Switch over to my secondary window. Okay. Add channel. Let's go over here. Connect. All right. Activating. Let's authorize this. Log in. Let's do this thing. Oh, it says email. Okay. My bad. Let's take a look at this. Phil, log in. Okay, allow. Allow. Okay, cool. So now it's adding that as well. We have it right here, sending data online. Okay, cool. So we just added another platform just there. And remember, a lot of people ask, like, well, how many people are watching you now? Do I have to worry about that? Listen, a vast majority of your people are going to watch the replay. So don't get obsessed with how many people are watching live. It's great if some people are watching, but realize you're going to be having you're going to have a lot more to gain from replays than you going live all the time. Now, I like going live because I get to connect with people. People have a great experience, but I realize that people are busy. And sometimes when I go live, it's just not a good time for them in their life. So don't feel like, oh my goodness, no one's watching me. Guess what? It helps you perfect on your craft, get better, all of those things. So we just went through broadcasting. And you can see I'm even making sure I'm editing, doing all that stuff. Now, the next part is repurposing. Now, let's see. Okay. So the next part we're going to be talking about is actually repurposing. Now, how are we going to repurpose? What we use is repurpose.io. And repurpose.io will allow you to basically do automation and clip pieces of your content so more people can take advantage of it. So it's like the Zapier of content creation. Now, if you don't know what Zapier is, it's a platform that allows you to do automations and do a lot of different things. So just like it says, create once, publish everywhere, this allows me to broadcast in one area, and then it can do a bunch of things. So with my live stream, I can create multiple pieces of content for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for other pieces of my Facebook pages. It creates a podcast if I want to. I can go on Instagram Live, Instagram TV. And the list goes on and on, all by doing one thing. So if you look at this, I'm using Repurpose. I log in, and you're going to see my workflow. Just like any other workflow where you've got to, spell it out, or IFTT, if then that. I create workflows so I know when I'm going live, just like what I'm doing right here, all of these other actions will happen in the background. So now if I'm streaming, if I'm gaming, if I'm doing all those things, think about it. I don't actually need an editor to go back and, what scene was good. Well, just like if you're, making clips and you're asking people in the comment sections to clip it, I can be doing that using my timer. If I'm on Twitch, I'm using my Stream Deck and dropping markers. And then right here, I can do the rest here. So if I go to workflow on repurpose.io, right here, I can have my audio podcast. It's making automatic, separations for my audio podcast and whatever. Let's see. Good morning from Australia. Good to see you. So right here, what we're going to be doing is you can see all the different automations that I'm doing, right? So let's start at right here. My main workflow, I'm having my live stream Facebook, going to YouTube. So every time that I go live after it's done, it can push to YouTube and automatically go there. Also, too, it makes my Instagram clips. It also creates my Twitter Square snippets. So it's just the sizing of what it's going to do, the ratio. It's also doing it's creating a podcast. It's uploading snippets to YouTube again. So not only is it making one long clip, so it's taking my entire live stream and just putting it on YouTube for me, it's also chopping up all the clips for me as well. So again, if you look at this over here, and I have all of these clips, I can feed it into my Facebook Live page in the description. I put all of my clips here, and then when in my workflow, and I do this in another video, but now it takes all of those clips and it automatically schedules times to create clips for my YouTube audience with those things. And I can have an intro, I can do all of those things right there with the clip. So again, that cuts out tons of time for my editor and my assistant to do these things. It automatically just pays dividends, and we can see it with our audience as well, that we're getting more engagement just because we're being more consistent with our live stream and our videos that we're putting out. So now that we've finished that, now we're going to go back and look at the other section. Hold on one second. Switch over. Okay. So we just looked at broadcaster idea. We went in depth with that. We just added things to Restream, which was good. We just tested your message with micro clips. We just talked about that, how we did it with repurpose.io, which is great. Okay. Now we're going to be talking about the third. I'm writing this in my description. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about collecting leads. Now, there's a couple different ways of doing it. If you have never built a website before, it is not as scary as it looks. And it's become a lot easier nowadays. So think about where you want to collect leads. And what I would do is just really simple. I would go to sendfox.com. They have a pretty cheap deal for you to do a lot of things, and it's meant for creators. So it's free email marketing for content creators. It makes a ton of sense because it makes your automatic emails. You can set it up every time you go and create a YouTube clip. It can or a YouTube video weekly. You can send your audience all of your roundup of videos if you want. If you're if you have a podcast, it will make all of the emails for you and send them out for you automatically if you want to. So they're called smart campaigns. Also, they have something called smart pages where they just make landing pages for you so people can go to those pages and sign up for you. And it also has a referral program built in, so you can reward people if they share your content. It will automatically keep track of all those things. Those are so many things that are a pain in the neck. It does it automatically for you. So I would start with SendFox. Now, I use two different CRMs, which is customer relationship management. So SendFox is a CRM. I use two different ones, but to get started, and again, it's free for you to get started. Depending on how many subscribers it has, then it starts charging you. But you can even get a lifetime deal where it's $49 lifetime. I think it's 5,000 contacts, and you just pay $10 more, and it keeps going up and up for how many subscribers you have. So it's a really good entry piece. It's a lot easier than MailChimp or Constant Contact and all those things. I would do something with SendFox, and I talked about this earlier in another video, but you can just look at one of my pages. I'm going to go SendFox/doc. Okay, so when you go to sendfox.com/doc, you'll see one of my smart pages, right? It says, get my best tech stacks delivered to your inbox. It's all of the Build With Me episodes or the best of. It's right there when you subscribe. It just says first name, email, join, right? Very simple. You can do the same thing. Doesn't matter if you have a product, service, you're selling something. Have people, hey, you want more of this? Go sign up. Allows you to brand it, have your own logo, do whatever you want. But I would really recommend you do that. So when your audience is watching you, now they're going to be able to sign up for your products and services, and you can keep in touch with them. That's crucial. So that is what I would do right there. Let's see. Collecting leads, in depth. And again, as we're doing this, you can see I'm just creating this to chop up more videos as well. So that way, more people can benefit for this. So the next part we're going to be talking about, going to be talking about your welcome leads. Okay, so this goes back into what you can do in Sunfox, where you're going to just be welcoming people. I use the same sequence. I use ConvertKit, but this sequence has been just killing it. This is a sequence that Noah Kagan uses, and it's his email sequence that they have as a template. But I use this for all of my clients, for myself. And this email sequence, although it seems so easy to do, it's really, really powerful in what you can do. So say, for instance, you go over here to automations and it says create automation sequence. Go down, it says start with a template. You're ready to roll. It asks you right here, automation assistance. It actually pulls your information, right? So it finds out the name of your website. You can do all this when you sign up, but now it's going to make all the links for you inside your email sequence automatically. So now you don't have to worry about thinking about what should I do? Is this the right thing? It does everything for you. So what does that automation look like? Well, it's 3 emails that go out automatically to your audience, and they're separated one day at a time. So when they first sign up, they get the instant email, no delay, and then every 24 hours, they get one more piece of content. The reason I like this so much is it allows you to start building rapport and building your community very quickly. So right here, it's saying, welcome to Build With Me. Obviously, that's the name of the show. Saying, you're now part of the Build With Me family. Over the next few days, I'm sending you some goodies. Stay tuned. It says, what's the number one thing I can help you do? Now, right here, I might have changed the wording a little bit. But basically, I'm having people hit reply and talk to me right away. I didn't think this was going to work, and I thought this was really too simple. It's about 50% of everyone that signs up on the list actually writes back. And I've had people in other communities mention how powerful that is when I write back to them because they think it's just automation. This is helping you with automation, but the more you can connect one-on-one or personally with your audience, the more loyal they're going to be, the more they feel like they can trust you. So having that hit reply has been crucial. I'm telling you. It's crazy. And then the next part, it says, have you seen these? This allows you to have 3 or 4 links that like your best of content that you can put out or to tell them to go check it out. And right here, you can see a couple of things, right? So right here, it shows a couple different interviews I've had with people. It's great stuff. And then that allows them to see different set of medium of what I've done, podcasts or different episodes. So I think I have one with Ben from MakerPad. I have another one that I put in with Gary Vee Content Model 2.0. I forget the third one that I use. But again, that shows you the best of. The last part is 3 places to find my tips. This allows them to now opt in or subscribe to wherever you are on social media, and then probably cross-pollinate to show where you are as well. So right here, it's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. I use LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter just because I'm really active on Twitter. I want people to subscribe on my YouTube channel, and then I work with a lot of professionals, so I want them to connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's all done for you, and you can do minimal changes. You can change the language or whatever based on what you want to do, but that really helps you see the benefits of what you can be doing with a welcome email sequence. It allows you to have your tribe to understand who you are, and then also it allows you to not do everything manually, but really effectively have everyone come through the funnel at the same point over and over again. So that's welcoming your new leads into your tribe. Okay, let's put that right there. And let me know if you have any questions in the chat too. And yep. Okay, now we're going to be talking about creating a consistent show. Now, what I want you to think about doing is view this as a sitcom or view this as a show that is professional. If you're watching a certain show, and I know on Netflix you can binge watch whenever you want, but it's really important that you have consistency so people know what's going on with you. If you listen to a certain podcast, you know a certain artist that will drop something on a certain day, people love schedules, and it helps you to build habits. So if you're consistent, your audience is going to be consistent. So for us with Build With Me, we're consistently on live Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week. Now, if you look at what we're going on right now, we live stream throughout the other parts of the week sometimes. Right now, I'm in a challenge, 100 days of streaming and no code. So I'm going to be showing up at different times. But there's one weekly show that is consistent. If you look at streamers on Twitch or anywhere, sometimes they go 3 days live, depending on their schedule. But it's really important that you do something like that. The same way you have to think about how can you position your brand, position what you're doing in that same area, in that same purposeful manner. When are you going to go live? Why are you going live at that time? Have you tried other times? Those are things to consider, because just going at noon, tons of people are doing other things. Some people are working. Depends on the time zone. Depends, again, with your audience. Where are they watching? We've got people watching from Australia, right? So we got tons of different audiences to consider. And for you as well, think about what you're trying to do with your audience, with your business, and take those into consideration. Also, too, I'm a little bit of the counter culture of that too. I'm looking for opportunities. I don't want to be competing with other people for their time midday, right? So that's why I purposely did a late night show. And two, I view a lot of people view our content that are side hustling. They have a job, so they're doing their job at night. So they are looking for entertainment as they're hustling, or they're looking for that motivation and want to be a part of community as they're off of work. After they put their kids to bed, then they get to work. And that's why I show up at that time. Also, too, it's great because not a lot of people are up at that time doing content like me, doing business shows at that time. They're usually doing it midday or something like that. So I just view it as an unfair advantage. So think about what you could do, or flip it. Think about how you can be in front of the right people on their schedule. Okay, so we talked about being consistent. Benefits of being consistent, in depth. Put that there. Okay, now we're going to be talking about tracking KPIs. Now, if you've never tracked KPIs or know what that is, that's key performance indicators. But I really want you to think about what really moves the needle. And you have to think about this for your own business and think about what you're trying to accomplish, and don't necessarily listen to everyone else. The reason I say that is every business, every step is a little bit different. You just can't do it generically. Like, if you hear a lot of times, people will be like, well, you need 100 subscribers and have this conversion rate for you to sell this much. Yeah, well, those are great frameworks, but your audience and how you built your audience or how they talk to you, your conversion rates might be totally different. It might be higher, it might be lower. So the same thing when you're building your key performance indicators, you have to think about what moves the needle for you. What is the main goal? So reverse engineering your goal and where you're trying to go, it's really important to go towards that, because then you can be able to accelerate or scale it based on what's happening. For example, with Build With Me, we're not necessarily concerned of how many people are watching live all the time. We're focused on how many people open the email, how many people see our content and then take action or comment. The reason behind it is we have seen when we present content, micro content in very specific areas, and those groups like it, then we get the subscribers, then more people come in. So what did we do? We established making sure that we have the halo effect, meaning other people are talking about us in 3 places at least per month. How do we do this? Number 1, we do a Build With Me exclusivity or exclusive build. We do that with Trends in the Hustle, right? So we show up and we do a show live And then when they watch that live, then they watch the older episodes. Okay, that's number one. They watch the older episodes and subscribe. The second part is when we're in the repurpose.io group. When we're in repurpose.io, then when they see how we're using the content, repurposing and all those things, people comment on the video, comment to us in the group, and then they end up joining and things like that. So we're actually going for another level, not just going live on the platform, but getting really specific in groups of why we're showing up and how we're using our content. And then more people are going to be there live. Okay, so we do that. The other thing is too, the KPIs, we're looking at how many people join our welcoming email sequence to get content like this, and then we adjust from there. We look at what's going on, and then we make sure that we're adding emails that gives them value. So a lot of our emails right up front for the first like 17 weeks, we're building out of almost all free content. We have free courses, free content, free tools, all of those things. We drop in a 7-day free trial for the Build It community. So there's tons of ways for people to low barrier offer. And then if they want to do more with us, buy more expensive courses, services, then they reach out to me directly, and then we go down that way. But we're making sure that we're expanding more people talking about it because we're creating a lot of really detailed content in an area where most people are just consuming or understanding what's happening in the industry trends, but they're not necessarily taking action. So that's what we're capitalizing on. We're capitalizing on the turn. Let me know if that makes sense, or if you have any questions, put in the comment section below, please. Okay. KPIs. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about streamlining your process and your live stream with purpose. Now, keep this in mind too. You've got to really view live streaming like you're exercising. You have to build up your tolerance, and you just got to start doing it. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm just going to stream and I'm going to start today. If you're not consistent with it, it's just like exercise and dieting. You'll just fall off the train and you won't do it. So instead of me trying to tell people, oh, you've got to be perfect at it first, just try to live stream 7 days straight. And once you start doing that, that allows you to build up that muscle and just get that comfortability. If you do it once and you're done, you're not going to stick with it. It's really important that you continually do this over and over again so you get proficient and start making, strides to where you're trying to go. So what I suggest is at least 7 days straight, try to do a 40-day or 100-day challenge of going weekly, and again, like we're living proof. We're doing this. We did it for the 40 days straight with the initial batch of shows. And again, now we do other challenges to show people the benefits of being consistent and rapidly going live and learning how to do these things. The other thing is too, to consider when you're going live and you're doing this on YouTube or you're doing this on whatever platform, the more you start going live daily, the better your shows are going to get very rapidly. If you look at our first 40 days, I think we were able to do that, and we got better, and we were able to start selling services and products within a month and a half because we were going live every day. We were taking inventory, we were seeing what people like, what they didn't like, and then changing very rapidly. And that allowed us to do better with our business and then start building out things for our audience. And again, that wouldn't have been possible if we just did it monthly or a weekly show. Having it that many shows, every night you're on again and you're perfecting it. I assume it's similar to a band or some other act where you're constantly using the same set list. Where I used to DJ, it was very similar like this. When you're DJing and you're going to different clubs, you knew the sets that could get people hyped. You knew if you had 5 to 10 songs, you could pretty much manipulate it for the audience to build up that wave and then like crush it and then bring it back down. And you knew certain ways of changing the audience based on if they were feeling it or not. And not every club or party was exactly the same, but the more you did it, the easier it was to really be able to tell if you're in that flow state. And the same thing with live streaming. The more you do it, the better you're going to understand your flow state and if people are connecting with you, what's happening, and then adjusting your content around that. And you can do that by being consistent and being purposeful. So that's why I'm thinking about streamlining. Make sure that you're just taking inventory of what works for you, what hasn't worked. And then after you have a large enough piece of data, then you'll be able to see what's working. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. So, I looked at my YouTube account, I think this morning. I think I have 811 videos. I think 300 are public, the rest are unlisted, and I'll add more. But for the most part, I have 500 videos that just they're either with clients or I just haven't released them yet or whatever. But those 300 videos, the more you release, the better you'll see what people like. For example, I did a lot of no code videos at first, and for a while, for a couple months, they weren't really hitting or doing anything. Now they're hitting, and if you look at that, it sometimes takes time. I was redoing thumbnails, redoing titles, just trying to see what happens. And then it's just timing and seeing what happens. So the more content you put out there, the public allows, or public opinion, or the public taking action and doing things on YouTube, especially, or platforms that have larger search engines, in valuing work versus, uh, you know, new videos like Twitter. If I have something on Twitter, in a day it burns out. No one's going to go back and watch those videos. YouTube, fine wine. You go back and you put stuff on YouTube, 2 years it could pop later. In a couple months, and so that's what I'm seeing, and a lot of creators see that as well. And then it's building that momentum. So it's something to consider when you're streamlining your process. Don't worry about it at the beginning, or like, I had to get this perfect. Just put out content and see what people like, and then go back and change it. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is plan out your streams of income. So we talked about that briefly, but let's go a little bit more in depth with this. There are tons of different streams of income. You can do products, services, you can do affiliations, you can do whatever you want, really. But plan out how much time and energy do you want to do this. Some people, they want to stream, they just want sponsors. Okay, so if we're going with sponsors, you need to have certain numbers to make it worth their while, right? Either you're connecting with a certain target demographic that aligns with them, or you have such a large audience number that they're going to pay you for that. The second one is courses, or some type of course that you can release so people, your audience, would like it. What works, what doesn't work. Think about it. The reason I say that is a lot of times, say for instance, YouTube, people want to learn how to do YouTube better. I think about Nick Miniman from YouTube. He's releasing a course on that because his entire YouTube channel is about YouTube. Now he's releasing a course. It makes perfect sense. For us, we get a lot of question on business. Although we use no code and do all these things, really it has to do with execution and clarity. So our main focus is teaching people to decipher the signal from the noise, and then have that clarity and execute an action to be able to create these projects. All the episodes that we had the first at least 60 episodes, it was tools and how you would build businesses. But a lot of people, it still doesn't make them act. So it's looking at what's happening in the market, what trends are happening in the market, and then bringing clarity and execution, how you can go out and start dominating and start making money off of these trends or what you see. So again, that was our streams of income. We built out courses and digital downloads after we saw what people were asking us. We did a lot of other things, right? So we have a live streaming course. A lot of times people, although they buy the live streaming course, they really want the accountability with the community. They want the clarity. And then also when it's time and they feel up to it, they do live streaming. It depends. Every single group that we're in or we show up, it's a little bit different. But think about listening to what people are looking for and then changing or pivoting to make sure that your offerings are exactly what they're looking for. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. So it takes a lot of time and energy. And again, testing out pricing, testing out what people want, and going from there. And let me know in the chat if you're having any questions or if this is making sense or if you need more. Okay, so the last part is IDing supplies and demand. So although every business should be looking at supply and demand, this is really important to do when you're building in public and making money, because you have to constantly vary or see what you're putting out. Is it something of value? Now, again, I'm not saying always pivot just by public opinion, but you're asking them to vote with their time and energy watching you and their money to see if it's something that's appropriate. Now, what I like about live streaming, and it's different than any other medium. It's different than webinars. It's just different because it's really permission marketing at its full. If people don't like you, they can just leave. They didn't sign up for it like a webinar. They're not committed to it, whatever. When you're live streaming, if you're connecting with the right people, they will follow you and go deeper down into the rabbit hole and be with you a long time if they're connecting with you the right way. So the same thing with your supplies and demand of you building a business or whatever you want. What do they want? Do you have that for your product and service? Are you articulating that well enough? Or is your value aligning with what they need help with? What's their pain point? And I know that seems very generic, like write down people's pain points. That's how you make money. But no. Let's go really deep about this. If you're trying to help people with losing weight or changing their behavior, you need to be thinking about them all day long. What does their day really look like? If you're trying to help them with understanding they need to change their food and eating habits and stop smoking, stop doing all those things, you need to be thinking about what do they look like when they wake up? Where are they sleeping? Are they sleeping by themselves? Are they having trouble getting out of bed? Does it hurt when they roll over? Is their stomach bloated? When they sit up on the side of the bed, are they just confused? Are they angry because they're starting another day? What do they feel like? You should be that in tune to what your target demographic, those people that you help, you need to be going down that road. You need to either have experienced it yourself, already seen what your clients are doing, and you need to write that entire story for an entire day. What they're doing in the morning, how they're waking up, how they're brushing their teeth, if they're saying goodbye to their loved ones, do they have kids? When they're driving to work, are they miserable? Do they hate their commute? Do they hate what they're sitting, the seat that they're sitting on? When they try to get themselves out of the car, how are they like getting into the building? Do they know where their keys are? Do they hate the smell of their office building? Do they hate their boss? Like, you have to be that in tune to be able to find the right product and service to help your audience. So that's what I mean by supplies and demand. You should know all of those things before you even put out your first product. And if you haven't done it, now's the time to think about it that in depth. Go back, revise what you're selling, and then start writing out the story, how that you know that you need to show that you know them intimately. And so you talking about their morning routine, talking about how they're feeling during the day, that's what's going to align with why people care about you, why they know that you can help them. It's so important. That's why you see why influencers, you're like, how can this influencer that knows nothing about business, people are trying to pay them or pay her or whatever? It's because they're being that real and they're connecting with someone. You need to be connecting with someone. And when you're live streaming, that's what you have the ability to do in real time. Find out what's going on. Now, they might not even tell you in the comments. I've had people message me offline or, email me or message me in DM, whatever, but you need to look for a response. If you're not getting a response, that means that you're being too vanilla. You're being too generic. You're not helping a very specific target demographic, a type of person to get through these issues. So that's what you need to identify. What are you going to be doing for them? And then also, when you're talking to these people, does it make it even a difference in their life? Let me switch over because I'm really passionate about this. What you do, does it change their life? So you're going to either provide two different types of products and services, either a vitamin or a painkiller. A vitamin or a painkiller. When you're thinking about your product or solution, are you trying to be a painkiller where it's getting right to the root of the problem and you're helping them to get better instantly, or you're a vitamin? They're going to be taking your advice and they're slowly going to be better, but they're probably really not going to tell a difference really, but they're told that they just need to be taking vitamins and everything, right? So you've got to think about how are you showing up? Now, there's a whole other discussion about painkillers and, are they masking things? That what I'm getting at is it an instant relief? Are you helping them solve a problem right now? Or do they have to view you as a vitamin where they can take you or not? They stop talking to you for a couple days, weeks, can't really tell a difference, right? When we're talking about live streaming and showing up and making sure people notice you, it's being the painkiller. That's the whole point of when we're building products and services for people. You have to be the painkiller because then people notice, then people need your help, then they outreach to you. They do all of those things, and that's what you're focusing on with your business. If you don't take inventory of that, and if you don't really start focusing on that, you're going to constantly be in a section when you're spiraling and not knowing if your business is in the right place or if you need to pivot. You need to constantly be testing and really seeing what you do with your audience, what you're doing with your presence, what you're doing with your products and services. And if you can do those 9 steps that we just went through, that's how you're going to build a profitable business. That's why you're going to build a sustainable business. And for you to be able to navigate through this marketing and all these things that are happening right now, you're going to be able to navigate efficiently and be able to win in this time. Not just survive, but thrive in what you're doing. So we have just gone through the 9 steps to build any profitable business in public. Thank you so much for watching. If you watch parts of this, if you watch all of this at once, thank you so much for being here, for, again, taking the time out of your schedule, being here, listening. Let me know in the comments below what kind of business you're trying to build, how I can help you. Let me know all of those things. And 2, we're going to be here again every single day for 100 days. This is day 4. So make sure that you're doing this. And by the way, a round of applause for you guys for being here. That's right. You took the time. You're focusing on your business. You're trying to make sure that you're being effective. Let me know how I can help you. And we'll be talking to you tomorrow. Again, thank you so much. Good night.